Started. All right, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Laura Estrada Adams, and this is CT Talks episode 14, Caltrans Blasters. I'm your co-host, Laura Estrada Adams, Communications and Outreach Coordinator for the Division of Human Resources here in Sacramento. We hope you're ready to have a blast today because we're bringing in the pros, the Caltrans Blasting Coordinators, to light up an explosive conversation with you about their rock-solid career journeys in the maintenance field and how they handle explosives to keep our roads safe. I want to take a moment and express our gratitude to everybody and our viewers for all of your ongoing support of CT Talks webinars. We couldn't do this without you, and we're so happy that you're tuning in today. For those who may need to leave early, no worries. We'll be sending out a follow-up email with the recorded link, so keep an eye out for that. During today's webinar, we encourage you to engage with us by asking questions in the chat. My co-host, Harriet, unfortunately is not here to join us today. She's taking care of a urgent matter right now. So we do have a new co-host with us today, and you'll get to meet him in a second here. But we will be pausing throughout the webinar to pass on the questions to the blasting coordinators. And with that, I'm going to get this started. So I'm going to hand it over to Tom next to give his introduction.
My name is Tom Hicks. Thank you, Laura. I'm the Deputy Division Chief with Caltrans. I've been with the organization for about 20 years, and I'm excited to jump into this episode today. I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be exciting, right? So why don't we start to blast off with some bios, Laura?
Sounds good. All right, so I'm going to start with Alan Sharon. Alan started his vocational education with the University of Caltrans as a landscape maintenance worker in 1993. After a year of learning highway safety and landscape maintenance, he transferred and began a 3-year course in road maintenance. The knowledge he gained as a highway maintenance worker prepared him for a step up to an equipment operator. Over the next 18 years, he worked in both mountain and urban settings, developing his skills on the vast amount of equipment that Caltrans offers. During this time, he was introduced to Caltrans climbing and blasting programs. Never being one to shy away from an opportunity to learn, he embraced both programs and put forth the mental and physical effort required to excel from a student to an instructor. The knowledge transfer, guidance, and work ethic and support among instructors and colleagues in these programs prepared him for the leadership and supervisory roles as a lead worker, maintenance supervisor, and an area superintendent. Alan currently works as a Caltrans maintenance area superintendent and one of the program field coordinators with the Office of Vegetation and Wildfire Management. He is also active as an instructor in the blasting program, a lead instructor for the climbing program, and an instructor coordinator and pilot qualifier for the Caltrans UAS drone program. As he heads into the sunset of his career with Caltrans, he looks forward to continually learning and sharing knowledge that will help these programs running long into the future. After hours, he enjoys spending time with his wife, children, and grandchildren, adventuring into the outdoors and educating the next generation on the importance of vocational education. Thank you so much for joining us today, Alan.
Well, and Laura, I have the pleasure of introducing Ryan Gomes. Ryan began his Caltrans career with us in 2001 as a Caltrans equipment operator too, in a limited term capacity. During that time, he was still working in wood logging for an outdoor company. Ryan acquired a permanent position as a CEO2 with us in 2003 and then became a lead worker in 2007. And from there, he promoted to maintenance supervisor in 2010. He currently serves as the District 2 for us, that's Reading area, level of service and blasting coordinator. He started in the blasting and climbing program in 2006 through help and encouragement of his supervisor, Gary Rainey, District 2 blaster and climbing instructor. He attained his blasting license in 2009 and began instructing for the program. He really values and appreciates the amazing Caltrans employees that he works with through the blasting and climbing programs, whether it's scaling a slope or blasting large rocks away on a roadway to reopen it and to the traveling public. Ryan finds his job very rewarding and satisfying. In his free time, he enjoys spending time with his family and friends. He also enjoys fishing, hunting, shooting, gardening, and camping in our beautiful Northern California.
All right, thanks for joining us too, Ryan. All right, and our final panelist here today is Andy Richard. So Andy started his Caltrans career in the winter of 1992 as a PI permanent intermittent equipment operator. During the next 7 years, he worked for the U.S. Forest Service in the summer, which is where he was first introduced to blasting, and worked for Caltrans in the winter. In 2000, he was hired permanently with Caltrans as an equipment operator too. He has always strived for any training and experience that would help his career. He always figured that with the training, experience, and knowledge, he was more valuable for career advancement. Nothing will ever be given to you. You must work hard for it. This has worked well for him as he quickly promoted as the lead worker and maintenance supervisor. In 2009, he promoted to District 9, the Bishop area, hazardous materials superintendent. In 2021, he promoted then to his current position as a Caltrans maintenance manager 2 for District 9. Overall, he has been in the Caltrans blasting and avalanche mitigation programs for about 22 years. He is currently one of the District 9 Caltrans State Meta blasting instructors. He has accomplished many of their licenses and certifications in his career, and he has some amazing mentors, supervisors, co-workers, and employees. In his free time, he enjoys spending time with his wife, Leslie, their 2 dogs, family, and friends. He also enjoys hunting, outdoor adventures, and his livestock. He has a few cows, horses, and mules that keep him busy in his small town in Bishop with a big backyard. Thanks so much for joining us, Andy.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah. All right. So next up, we are going to, let's go ahead. Yeah, let's click over the slide. So
let's just talk about it real quick, Laura. So what we're going to be covering today on our panel, right? We're going to hear from these 3 wonderful panelists that you all just met. And hey, get ready to ask those burning questions. Laura, you say put questions in chat, right? And then we'll get to them later in the program or throughout.
We'll be doing it throughout.
Awesome.
Yeah, so here's our panelists here. And this is a quick video. I think if you want to go ahead and click play right there, Tom, hopefully we can hear. I don't think there's sound, but I'm not sure if we'll be able to hear it. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think we're hearing the sound right now, maybe because nonetheless, it's this amazing video here of the Caltrans blasting crews at training and in the field. All the different landscapes with the rockfall landslides that are happening throughout the state.
Laura, give me 1 minute here. Let me see if I can reshare this with the sound.
Sure.
Okay, I think we're going to get it shared here. 1 second. Okay. So we're going to try that again. I'm going to go ahead and see if we can.
some amazing video collage that Harry put together for us today with some different content that Alan had shared. And Alan is also going to be sharing some more a little bit later in one of the questions. So we have a little bit more for you to come. And with that, we are going to go ahead and jump right into questions and start getting to know our Caltrans blasting coordinators really well. So Tom, do you want to kick it off with question number 1?
Question number 1. So we understand blasting is not an everyday occurrence. Please share why we have a blasting team and talk us through what happens when you do the call for rockfall mitigation.
Awesome. Hey, Tom, I'll take the first part of that. So some of the key reasons that we have a Caltrans blasting crew and blasting team is for safety purposes, our response time for emergencies, and cost savings. So our teams are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We work directly with our local maintenance staff to provide traffic and equipment support by having trained staff in areas around the state where rockfall is an issue. We can respond to these issues within hours versus potentially, days or weeks with a contractor. And the reason that is so important, I'll give you an example. On the I-80, Caltrans estimates over 6,200 semi-trucks drive over Donner Summit every day. And they transport roughly $4.7 million in goods per hour. So when we have an issue, if something like I-80 closes, as you can see with $4.7 million in commerce an hour, that's a lot of commerce lost if we can't get out there quickly. So by having our trained teams, we're able to get out there and get these things open quickly. So, and for the second part of that question, I'm going to throw it over to Ryan.
And to add on to what Alan's got there too, is one point I want to bring up is that we have the materials. We don't have to wait for a contractor to bring them in. We all have explosive magazines that we maintain year round. It's a lot of work to maintain the permits and inventory and doing our weekly security checks, but it's essential to the fast response time to be able to open the roads. And the second part to that question, what happens when we get the call? You obviously never know when you're going to get the call for an emergency. So you got to be ready at all times to go. Usually the first call goes out to your team of blasters, making sure they're available, checking with their bosses on their availability. Then it's usually a trip to the powder magazine to get the explosives and get your tools and drills and whatever you're going to need for the job. Then it's always a long drive to a remote location. We're usually blasting some pretty remote locations. It's usually a long day. I've had some 20-hour days out doing some drilling and blasting, but and then once you get there to the scene, you usually, long day. It's never very nice weather. It's always rainy. As you can see in some of those pictures, it's usually wet and muddy and terrible conditions. It's never a sunshiny day like you see in some of those videos that were our training. But, then it's always a long trip. After the job's done, you got to take all the explosives back to the magazines to secure them. So, that always adds to the job too. That's the part of the job nobody else ever sees. So that's usually the rundown about what happens. So.
Nice. So we have some questions already coming in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and pull one of those. Let me take a look here. Can one of you really quickly just talk about what are some of the type of explosives you're using?
Sure. We pretty much have all the tools available to us. We use a lot of 1.1 explosives. That means they're ready to go. When we're transporting those, we're placarded going down the road, but we also use a lot of binary explosives, Kennepack, and it's basically we manufacture the explosive on scene. So it helps with our transportation and storage of the materials. But, we have det cord, we have shape charges, we have pretty much whatever we need to get the job done.
All right, thanks. I know that we shared some of those photos on social media and the Caltrans LinkedIn. If you're following us on Caltrans, you might be able to go back in the feed and see some of these photos that the guys submitted to us. There's 3 different types of videos with each one of our blasting pros here. And you'll probably see some of those as well, like the video we just had today, and possibly, I'm not sure if Alan has that one to share in his video coming up, but yeah, some really dynamic photos and video footage from everybody. All right, so I'm going to jump into question number 2. So what are some of the common misconceptions about working with explosives? How do you address them in your line of work? And I'm going to throw that out to Andy.
Thank you, Laura. So some of the first reaction from people when they're interested in blasting is things that I hear is, I want to see things blow up cool like we do in the movies. Movies they have special effects blasters for the excitement of the audience. We don't do that kind of blasting at Caltrans. If our shots look like the movie shots, we're doing something wrong usually. Usually an uneventful blast that accomplishes the work with the least amount of fly rock is what we want to see. We don't want to see the big blast like on TV. How do we educate the people? We educate them on blasting and the dangers of the work. We educate them on, we train on the correct practices of blasting. And then the big thing is, we teach them is you must have experience in the blasting. The blast that you're doing, every blast is different. You have different types of rock. You're going to have different conditions out there. You're going to have different site limitations. So all that stuff you have to take into consideration. You might have a house that's only 200 yards from you. So you got to take those into consideration. There's a lot of safety factors when we're blasting out there. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else want to add to that, or any other opinions on that?
Pretty well said.
All right.
Covered.
Okay. So let me take a look at the chat. We're getting lots of questions in here. Anybody wants to take this one? What would be the most challenging? The location, geology, the weather that you work in? What do you think?
I'll take that, Laura, and the answer is yes. Yes to all of that. It's all very challenging. It's a lot to work on. We have depending on weather, like Ryan said, you can be out. We only shoot between the hours of daylight, so that doesn't mean that the work stops. So oftentimes we're out in the middle of the night drilling and getting ready, so at daylight we can shoot to get that road open. So that's very challenging. Sometimes it's the roads or the areas. Like Andy was saying earlier, you may have a house in very close proximity. That can be an issue. Access to the rocks. We have major slides on the California coast where, we may have to hike in for hours to get to a point where we start the work and to drill and stuff like that. So, so that's really it. The location, the geology, all of it factors into it. And, some are tougher than others, but they all have their challenges.
All right.
So what I hear is safety and quick to calculate, right, with the changing environment. So very cool. I have a question in here too. Do you use electric blasting or shock tubes?
So I can take that one. Caltrans does not use electric blasting anymore. When we started, we used to use electric blasting. We use non-electric shock tube now. It's a lot safer than electric blasting. So for Caltrans, I should take that back. So we do use electric blasting with Caltrans. The geotechs are in our blasting program, and that's another part of the blasting and they'll use electric with geotechs, but that's about the extent of it. So everything's non-electric.
Thanks, Andy.
Yep.
All right, thanks, guys. And next, you're up, Tom. What number?
So I got another question here for the panel. In your experience, what are some of the key attributes or qualities that are essential for success in the maintenance field and blasting?
So I can take this one, Tom. The thing I got here is that a big part of success is having the want and the drive and the dedication to go the extra mile. All of us here on the panel have done that over our years. As I said in my bio, I volunteered and went the extra mile to make myself a more desirable employee. Make yourself available for opportunity. Take those extra tasks. Be a team player. I mean, we don't do any of this on our own. There's times I'll do something and I'll call Ryan, I'll call Alan, I'll call one of the other instructors and stuff. You know, we do everything together. Networking with teams, you know, network throughout Caltrans. Outside agencies that we've made contact with, we network with, build relationships. The other thing I've always said is be known for what you can do by showing it. Actions speak louder than words. The other big thing is, you know, Caltrans is a big family with a lot of knowledge. Tap into it. You know, we have a lot of knowledge throughout Caltrans, a lot of different things. So it's easy to call our colleagues and other people and tap into that stuff. So that's how I think, you know, the qualities are for being successful.
You know, Andy, you mentioned the word team, and in the chat, I have a question, and it kind of relates to that. You know, it says, are there currently any women on the blasting teams, and do we do any type of recruitment towards women to join our blasting team?
We don't do any special recruitment. We've had women on our teams in the past, but we don't have anything special recruiting people, you know. But yes, we've had some very talented women blasters. Actually, my deputy director that just retired was a very accomplished blaster, worked for Halliburton and did fracking and stuff. So, you know, there have been some really good ones.
So it sounds like we definitely ask women to join our blasting team or go through the program.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I think, Laura, you got the next question.
Yeah, there's another part to number 3. So beyond the technical expertise, like how do we support the blasting team to uphold these kind of attributes that you're speaking about and prioritize the safety? So I'm going to give that out to Ryan to expand on that more.
Let's see.
Just kind of
How to ensure
speaking
safety.
to-
What's that, Laura?
Oh, I was just going to say, just speaking maybe to the safety and the annual training that you guys are doing. Talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah. We have regular safety training that we go through yearly. All of our Caltrans blasters attend a 32-hour beginning class when they start blasting, you know, to begin the program. And then we do yearly training for all licensed blasters and employees involved in blasting. It's a 28-hour course. All blasters must work under a licensed blaster with the experience with the work that they're doing. So, I mean, basically, anybody that's in the blasting program is brought in through their blaster in their district. So.
And I know you guys just had a couple of trainings this fall. There was one in September and October, and I know we've used some of that again for social media to promote this webinar, but also in some of the video I think that Harry put together that we just saw. And we would love to have the chance to go up there, and like Tom was just mentioning prior to this even starting, just going up there and seeing you guys doing what you're doing best. So anybody else want to add to that, to the annual training or the safety components on the panel?
The hard thing with having, you know, people come to the class and stuff, you know, for the regulations, you have to have a background check and stuff, and we can't let anybody handle explosives or do anything and be around the explosives without that background check and a current certificate of eligibility from the Department of Justice. It's the law anytime we work with explosives. So we got to be real careful with the people we allow on our shots and stuff. It's not that we don't trust them or anything, but for legal purposes to keep the department and ourselves out of trouble, we have to make sure that they have that background check before we can let people come to the class. That's why we don't usually let people come in and shadow on the class, because everyone that goes to our class has to have that prerequisite.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification, Andy. And it looks like we have a couple more questions over in the chat. Here's one for the panel. Who determines the amount of explosives to be used? Is that a field call?
So I can take that one. That's pretty much up to the licensed blaster, is how much is going to be used. So, you know, that's why we train with blasters to get our license. We learn how much explosives we need for the work to be done. So that's why a licensed blaster is always in charge. We have some rule of thumbs, 1 pound per cubic yard of rock to break. You know, there's rule of thumbs, but like I said earlier, every type of rock and explosion is different. I could have a soft rock when I'm blasting out in Death Valley that I need to use a lot more explosives. And then when I'm in the Sierras with hard granite, then you're going to use less explosives because less explosives will break the rock easier. So that's why you really have to have a licensed blaster that knows the conditions of what they're doing.
Sounds like there's a lot of variables in the work that you do and the conditions and everything from the environment to actually what you're doing in the ground or a rock. The chat is just blowing up here. I got another great question for you. You had mentioned earlier that the geotechs prefer electric blasting, or they're still using it. Is there a preference or a reason as to why?
I don't know the reason why on that. I think it's just the type of blasting they use. I'm not sure if Ryan or Alan has a comment on that.
Yeah, they're doing the seismic blasting. So when they're blasting that cap underneath the ground, they can actually, I do believe that they're the only ones that are allowed to put a charge in the ground and leave it and come back the next day. But it's because they have their seismic, they're monitoring the way the shock wave goes through the rock. That tells them the density of the ground, I think. That's the way I understand it. But we have one licensed blaster in District 2. I think he's getting ready to retire. And he's a seismic guy. So, but
Awesome.
when I first started blasting here at Caltrans, we used electric. You know, I blasted with Gary Rainey. I had an electric license, so like Andy said, everything nowadays we use is all non-electric shock tube, and it's just it's more versatile than the transportation of it, the handling of it is way better the non-L than the electric caps.
Cool. Well, it sounds like we'll be adding to the team up in District 2 soon. So, well, great. Well, Laura, I think you got the next question.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. So what have been some of your highlights of your careers? Can you share a story or something particularly memorable experience or a project that you worked on? And I'll give that out to Andy. Anybody else who wants to jump in after as well?
Okay, so for this one, working for Caltrans, I take pride in the work our crews do every day. One of the projects I was proud to be a part of is in 2017. Several thousand tons of rock fell on the road leading to Mount Whitney in Inyo County. I was part of the blasting crew that was mission tasked through the governor's office to blast the rock off the road. So District 9 was the lead on it. We were actually training some blasters from District 8, so they came up and helped us. We had Inyo County Roads with their contractor and the U.S. Forest Service. I don't have the exact amount for what it would have cost for a contractor, but from what I heard, it was somewhere over $1 million to get the work done because they were going to have to bring all the material in, bring magazines in, set up to blast. So Inyo County had a drill crew, and we drilled, and Inyo County's contract drill crew drilled, and we blasted that job. We did the work in a week. And we got that job done so they could, finish fixing the road base for about $52,000. So a week's worth of blasting and stuff to get the road to where they could work on it for $52,000. That was a pretty nice accomplishment, I thought, because there was thousands of tons of rocks that landed on the road, and the whole road bed shifted and went down 12 feet. So that's how much force came down. First thing, we had the Forest Service up there with drones. They flew it with drones. We walked around it. And I showed a picture to a friend of mine, and he said, "Man, you look like an ant standing next to those rocks that came down." So that gives you, I'm a big guy, 6'7". So,
Wow.
there was a lot of rock there. And the first thing I saw when I walked up there, 700 yards across the canyon, we had cabins. So we had site limitations there. We had a creek in the bottom. We're at the gateway to Mount Whitney. So it was a good project to work on. And our crews did an amazing job, cleaning that up.
What an amazing experience.
Right. And I met Andy a few times in person. So anything that makes him look small, boy, it's got to be big. So, hey, with that, I think I'm going to share. We have a video here, and I'm going to go ahead and share it and see if you guys maybe could walk us through kind of what's going on. So let me go ahead and get that going here.
Yeah, so this is a area in District 8 near Idlewild. And as you can see, this large rock protrusion was sticking out. And they were having issues with high-profile vehicles hitting the edges of the rock and damaging the vehicles. So we brought in crews out of District 5 and District 7 to remove this hazard. And you can see the crews up drilling on the rock and what have you. And right here, they're actually loading the shot. So everything's been calculated. They're putting explosives down in the hole and getting ready to trim that off. So if you watch closely, you're going to see little streaks go through the screen, and that is actually the explosives lighting off. So as you see a streak go across, everything's lit down. It's very slow motion to kind of show you how it's going off. So this was a very controlled blast. You can see 99% of the rock landed in the highway. So, and no guardrail was damaged in the making of the video.
Wow.
That was a big one. And this is a kind of a close up and a slow motion of the shot going off. So you can see the kind of disturbance in the ground there. And we've got multiple angles on it. We had 3 drones in the air for this.
Amazing footage.
So the contractor came in behind us and had the road open in about an hour and a half after we put all that down there in the road.
Wow.
So, yeah, very successful.
Sounds pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah. No, amazing how you guys
Incredible.
put it all together and it just goes in unison. And like
Yeah.
you say, the fall of the rock not even damaging the guardrail. Now I see why they don't let me do it.
And cleaning it up right away, and the road, everybody's able to travel again safely. So, yeah, just incredible.
You know, I got a question in here, and they say, how busy is our blast crews? And I know that there's not a moment that you guys aren't busy, but maybe you guys could answer that.
Well, I'll jump in quickly. So our blast crews are all busy because they all have full-time day jobs. So we're all doing our normal, gig, and then it really is going to depend on the season and what type of winters we get. The last few winters we've been extremely busy, and then it's not just the rock that you're seeing. I think maybe there's going to be a second episode, hint, hint. But we also have our avalanche crews that are out there, and they're doing their work in the wintertime and what have you. So it is seasonal. We do have summer work that we do where we try and catch up and reduce some of this boulders, because some of the stuff will come down over winter and we just get it off the side of the road. And then as time allows, we go out and we reduce it so our crews can safely manage it and handle it.
Yeah.
I could add to that too, Alan's question. We're not also just doing emergency blasting. I got a job I'm doing here next week or so over in Highway 3 for Hayfork. We're going to shoot some ditch lines. They got some rocks that are blocking some culverts and some turnouts. The rocks are in the way. So we also do, projects like that too.
And, we have our avalanche crews. We do that a lot, and we might only have 1 or 2 blasters, but these others in training, we pull from other crews that are in a location where we can use them. So there's a lot of times we'll pull a couple people, but it's not feasible to pull from 200 miles away. We got to have someone close in proximity that we can use. So we do that a lot with our avalanche mitigation.
Prior to the webinar, just interviewing the 3 of you, is that the blasting is not like a classification that the general public can just go apply on Cal careers. That's not an actual job in itself. You guys are all during the maintenance field. You guys have held different titles in the maintenance field. It's just an added skill set that you've learned as that's come up and needed. So I just wanted to put that out there again in case anybody was wondering, because that was just something that just in case it came up, it's not an actual position itself to do blasting. It's an opportunity.
Something else to add to that is, it requires 3 years of training to get a blasting license. But I started in the blasting field in 1994, and I did not get my license till 2002, just because it wasn't continuous blasting. So even like our blasting classes don't get you a license. It's working under that experienced licensed blaster is the only way you can get a Cal OSHA license. So.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question here too that somebody's asking. Let's see. Does anybody on the panel have any experience working with chemical splitting or have any opinions on the alternatives to controlled blasting?
I've used some of the chemicals before. Yeah, I think it's called bentonite, and it works good. The problem with bentonite is using along our roadways to crack boulders is you don't ever know when it's going to go off. So the difference when you're using the chemicals, if we're alongside the road in our right of way, if you put the material down the rock to split the rock, you don't know when it's going to break it. So then you can't leave it, because it actually will crack rock and throw a rock. Someone could get hurt. When you're using the explosives, you get the job done while you're there. So I mean, there's a place, and this is just another tool that you can use. It's nothing wrong with using the chemicals, but as far as Caltrans goes, in my opinion, you're better off to get the job done while you're there. Then the scene's safe when you're done.
Another quick question before we head back over to Tom. In the chat, I have a question about how we handle and typically handle like the traffic during the drilling, setting, and blasting.
So the traffic during the drilling and stuff, usually we'll have traffic control set up. Anytime we're drilling and doing that, we'll make sure our workers are all safe. Anytime whenever we start loading or doing anything with blasting, we have to keep everybody at least 50 feet away. So we keep everybody back. And if we cannot keep that 50-foot variance, then we shut down the road. Or we get a variance from Cal OSHA to do it. But for Caltrans, we close the road if there's any doubt that anybody's safety is, in danger.
Yeah, safety is the priority always. All right. With that, I'm gonna head back over to Tom for the next question.
Lauren, I know we heard from one of our panelists, but in regards to the highlights of their career, maybe Ryan wants to share some of his with us.
As far as blasting, or
blasting, get into blasting.
Yeah, I mean,
Caltrans.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I've always, like Andy said, I've always strived to never say no to anything, any challenge that's been handed to me to, learn something new here. The 20 plus years I've worked for the department too, whether it's running a new piece of equipment or learning how to do something on the computer, I've always just put that foot forward and dove into it. So, I mean, I appreciate my job. I worked in the woods for years, and I appreciate all the years I've been here at Caltrans. I appreciate the steady job, and I have nothing but good to say. It's every day that I don't really have a key moment, but it's just I appreciate every day I come to work and having a good job and a good place to work. So.
No, that's awesome, Ryan. Being here myself 20 years and just knowing that doing recruiting, I get asked all the time, what's the learning and development like here at the organization? And I think you just summed it up. It's a continuous growth. We're always developing and training, and it's beyond a job, right? It's a career if you want to make it. And there's a lot of opportunities. So thanks for sharing that, Ryan. So the next question I have for the panel is, tell us about the communication and collaboration with other districts and partners in your line of work. And what strategies do you use to ensure that everyone is on the same page when it comes to like protocols and procedures?
I think I was going to take that question, Tom. Communication and collaboration is key. I've worked with all the districts. I've worked with blasters from all the districts in my area of responsibility too throughout the years. I've also worked with lots of different agencies, U.S. Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife. I work with the Siskiyou County Road Department and Sheriff's Departments up in my area. Communications we're a small community here, the blasting, like me and Andy and Alan were talking about, but there's always anytime we have a situation or something we're not sure about, we have the ability to communicate between each other, even other agencies. Like I got a friend that works over here in Fish and Game. He's a licensed blaster, and we actually helped him get his license by coming out on our jobs and working with us. So sometimes we even borrow equipment from them. You know, there's been a few times we've had emergency situations and we're having a hard time getting air compressors up here in the wintertime, and I've actually used the local Fish and Game department's air compressor to drill our rocks. So communication and collaboration is key, whether it's internally or externally. But you know, it's just part of the job. You know, it goes with the blasting for sure. And as far as making sure everybody's on the same page, you know, that's always comes right down to you know, pre-job safety meetings and making sure everybody knows what's going on with the blast, and good communications, knowing who's, you know, where the shot guards are going to be and where we're going to have the road closed at, or and what kind of job we're trying to do. Are we trying to make, you know, boulders go away or just make riprap? You know, that's communication. I can't speak to how you gotta talk and work with everybody.
Yeah, no, I can only imagine the level of communication, especially when you're doing something as sensitive as this, right? Where the risk to harm to someone or something is very high. So I can only imagine.
And I'd like to add to that. I think one of the other important things that we do is our training program. It's a very standardized training program. So irregardless of what district you're in, when you come to our classes, you're getting the same training. So when we get out into the field, we've all used the same types of explosives. We're all, you know, so in that sense, it's very standardized. You know what you're going to do, and that also lends to generational knowledge transfer. So being in these courses, you know, as stated, I mean, I have 5 years to go here. I've been here just over 31, and you know, my goal would be that this class is so tight. You know, I was taught from folks that have been doing it for decades, and then I'm hoping to, you know, as an instructor, I'll pass that on to the students and then the next generation of instructors. So, you know, that's a super important part of this program is that the standardized training and the generational knowledge transfer.
No, I appreciate that, Alan. You know, in the chat, before I throw it back to Laura with the next question, I have something that kind of goes along with what you were saying there. And I'm being asked if all the districts have blasting crews or kind of how it works.
So I can kind of take that one. We have blasters in all districts, but about 3, or people in training. District 8 right now, District 11 and 12 don't have anybody in the program. So we've had them in the program before. The hard thing is, like you say, someone leaves, they can't keep up the powder magazine, they don't have other people to learn from, so they've lost their ability there without reaching out to the other districts. So that's why we have cross training between districts.
All right. Anybody else want to add to that, or? No? All right, we'll go ahead and head over to the next question. So for Alan, can you share any exciting developments or innovations in the field and maintenance and handling explosive that you're particularly excited about?
So not the handling of explosives directly, but one of the big things that we've recently brought in, you know, over the past few years is UAS technology. UAS meaning drones. So that was one of the big additions that we had. I started getting involved in that field in about 2013. We started putting it into a proof of concept in about 2016, and I became the first licensed maintenance FAA drone pilot for Caltrans here in 2017. So with that, you know, some of the first things that we did with the drone was we took it up and we just wanted to use it for educational purposes. We wanted to capture the shots so we could go back and look at it. oftentimes they're far away. We can't see what we've done. We go back, we know that the rock is no longer there, so we did a good job, but we can't really dissect it and learn from it. So that's been a super important part of adding the drone to what we're doing. And then with it being in the air, we also noticed that we had this incredible situational awareness. So, some of these areas are very big. Once you put the drone in the air, you see those cabins, you see the sites from each end, you see any other potential hazards you may have. We had I'll show a video here in a little bit where we had a very busy transition between I-80, I-20 and railroad tracks and all kinds of stuff. And the beauty of having the drone in the air or the eye in the sky is that you see all of it. There's not one page that you're missing there. So you have the full awareness. And that's really, it's up to our educational part. So we show a lot of the videos that you've seen. We show them in our training classes, but also it's really increased the safety and allowed us to add that extra safety net. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and share screen and I'll kind of go through a couple videos here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So let me know, do you guys have full screen on that?
Yes, I see it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So you've already seen this blast, I think a couple times within the presentation. The significance of this blast is this was the first one that we used the drone on. So this is 2018, and we went out and we wanted to see what we could see with the drone. And one of the things we'll see is this is a very, very slow, I'm gonna go ahead and stop it right there. You can see a fireball starting to build on top of that rock. And that is the deck cord that is setting the rock off. So the whole purpose of this blast was the rock is embedded in the edge of the roadway. This is an area where they do snow removal. And once the snow came in, they were having issues as they tried to remove the snow from the road with hitting this rock and damaging equipment. So we needed to not only break this rock, but we needed to heave it up out of the ground. So we went ahead and we designed a shot to do that. We put explosives in, deep into the ground to try and do that. And as you can see, it will come up. You can see the shock wave come through, and then you can see the rock come out. So this was a big moment to be able to go back and look at this in class when we got back after this blast to see how it worked and that it worked. So that's the real big significance of that, and I just kind of wanted to share that. That was a big win for us. So And then one of the other videos I wanted to show. This is that complex area that I was talking about. You can see the train down in the lower right. You've got I-80, there's a transition that comes in. You can see our crew way down here. So these are the things that we're dealing with when we're having to protect the traveling public and what have you when we're doing the shots. So by having that technology in the air, we're able to see everything that we need to guard and put it up in the air, prior to and do our shot planning and designing. So this is just another video. You'll see the shot very slowly here in just a second. So you can see it going off right down there. I'll give you guys a close-up of it. But one of the things you can see is now we're in the air. The shot's gone off. We have no traffic. We have no trains. Everything is completely locked down. And we know that 100% that is what it is because we're looking at it live on a screen with the drone. So
yeah, that's amazing. That's a game changer, I'm sure, for you guys.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, incredible.
So this is just we had a second drone in the air on that to capture the shot. Once again, you can see it going through nice and slow. This was a ditch line. We were removing rocks so the water could flow down that ditch line into the drainage instead of into the highway. So once again, there is fly rock in this, but the highway is closed, and that was the desired effect because we wanted to get those up out of the ground. So one of the things that we talk about is safety and, making sure that we don't, have unsafe situations. And this is a great Example of that, this is an area up near Idlewild. You can see right here in the center of the screen, we have a rock that is very close to a home. We have that, we have a lot of blasting mats on top of this. This is a crew that came out of District 5, Cody Collins and his crew. So it's one of those where we think it's great, but people watching it were like, really? That's it? So it'll go off here in just a second. So that was a perfect blast. There's no excitement. The rock came apart. Everything was perfect, and that's what we strive for. So,
and keeping everybody safe all the way around in the road and that house above.
Yes, yeah. Wow. So that was a really, really big deal. So I'm going to go ahead and stop and send it back over to you, Tom.
Appreciate that. Again, amazing. I love seeing that footage and learning, and myself being a motorist that uses all these roads, I truly appreciate all of what you do in regards to the safety aspect, and then also the minimization to the impact that it has on our traveling public, right? And keeping everything moving. And hey, I want to say thank you. So I have a couple questions in chat, and maybe we can get to some of those too. And I know one of them you just kind of talked about using the blasting mats. How well did those work in reducing the impact of flying rock?
I think from the video that you saw right there, there was zero flying rock. It was an absolute minimum. The downside to that is if it's a job where we want to get that rock up out of the ground, we're not going to be able to get that heave and that pull that we need to get it out. But in that case, we needed to reduce, and we needed to be safe. So.
And the other part of that is the shot design on that. The shot plan design on that. Those blast mats aren't going to work for some of those other larger shots that we did. So they're not a fix all. It's like Alan said, it's a designed shot to be used with the blast mats. It's not just any shot those blast mats will help.
That was actually a question I saw in the chat too, just asking why wouldn't you use a blasting mat every time?
And so, I got another video, Laura, and I'm going to throw it on the screen, and maybe the gentleman could walk us through this one too. Let me go ahead and share that for everyone here. This looks like it is from a blasting refresher in 2018.
Yeah, so I can, I'll narrate that a little bit. And this was just a little video I put together after our class. That's the Arch Bridge near Donner Summit. Just kind of a beautiful bridge. Wanted to kind of show the beautiful area. So, it is a little juddery there. I think we got some slow internet, but yeah, so that's the Donner Lake area. And this is, so the rock that we showed with the fireball, that's the rock. And this is basically just a quick video showing that class and kind of some of the things that go on in class. You can see our team together here on the side of the road. We're working to design this shot. We've got drillers drilling. You can see that they're making their marks where they're going to go, how deep we're going to drill, that type of stuff. So this is kind of typical to how we would run a class. We do part of it in the classroom, and then we head out into the field for real world experience.
The video makes it so helpful, like you guys talking about it, but just showing it just makes it more powerful to see what's going on.
Yeah, the visual aids they're huge, especially for us vocational people.
So with that blast we just watched, would you consider that one to be a successful blast with all that fly rock, or?
Yes, that's how it was designed. We wanted that. We had the road closed. There was no hazards, nothing close to that. And we wanted to heave that up out of the shoulder and get it to move. So that was
good examples. Good examples of the last one with the mats, and then this one, and just educating everybody on the different types that you do.
This is our local maintenance crews coming in to help us with the cleanup afterwards.
cleanup, yeah.
We couldn't do it without our local maintenance crews. These folks are, they do all our traffic
Absolutely.
control for us and all our equipment support. They're a vital part of what we do.
Like one of you had said earlier, it's all about teamwork. You guys are all relying on each other to get this done. It takes a lot of people. That's amazing footage, Alan. Thank you.
Yeah,
Alright,
absolutely. Oh no, I was just gonna say absolutely. I was gonna ask before we jump into the bottom of the segment here, but you know, I spent a lot of time myself previously in the artillery, and I wanted to ask you guys, how do you manage your stress, you know, with all that you do with these high stakes and you know, very impactful work, whereas you know, you got to take in all these calculations and ensure everyone's safety.
I'll jump in really quick on that. As far as for the job side goes, you know, we work in a high stress situation. We work on the highway. I mean, that's high stress all by itself. So that's not something new. You know, the stress is greatly reduced by our training. So, you know, it's not a stressful situation. We're professionals. We go out, we do what we've been, you know, taught to do and what we've learned. So, you know, as far as that goes, I mean, that's, you know, getting out. I think Ryan mentioned it earlier. It's much more stressful to be on this CT Talks today than it is to go up and run a explosives job. So, you know, that's it. And then, you know, the rest is just, you know, taking your time after work to just relax and unwind. So that's my 2 cents on it.
I see a lot of laughing emojis going up. I think everybody identifies with that. I just want to give a shout out again for Tom joining us today last second. Unfortunately, Harriet couldn't join us today, but you will catch her on the next episode. But yeah, it's going well so far. So yeah. All right. So we're just about a few minutes before ending here. And I did put some different links in the chat there. If you are able to scroll through that, I have some links in there for a recruitment email in case you're interested in a maintenance career with Caltrans. That's where these guys all got started and worked their way up the career ladder. All things are possible, and there's lots of opportunities here with Caltrans. So you can contact the recruitment team. I also have an email there for our team in case you have any questions about this webinar. I also provided the emails for the 3 panelists, just in case you do want to reach out. I saw a lot of questions wanting more details about the blasting program and so on, which is something we really can't unpack today in this webinar, but you are welcome to reach out to the panelists and talk to them and get some insights from them if you're already here with Caltrans. And I'm trying to think. I think, Tom, can you put the slides back up, possibly, the PowerPoint slides?
Sure.
I think that Harriet prepared those, and there's going to be a quick slide on there. It may have, might even have the email information that you're
Has it all.
there too.
This is what I get for being the rookie on the panel today. It's up
Did a
right
great job,
now.
Tom. There you go. So yeah, so this is one of our slides just saying thanks for attending. Our next episode is episode 15, Tribal Partnership and Environmental Stewardship. It's going to be an exciting one. Just coming and learning and what our programs and people are doing. This is open to anybody and everybody. Please share. I'm going to put the link right now in the chat for that webinar so you can register for that. And there you go. And I think, is that the last slide, Tom, that you can see that we need to share for everybody here?
It's the last slide. And I think as we're closing out, we only got a minute left. We'll just throw the question to the gentleman here. As we talked about careers in Caltrans, what would you say the most rewarding thing about your field of maintenance is for those wondering?
Quick 2 answers, if you can throw out quick 2 words or something to summarize it, right? What words would you describe your career here?
I would just have to say quick 2 words is, you know, it's been exciting and fulfilling. So
there you go. How about for you, Ryan?
Always evolving.
Okay, good. Andy?
I like watching the employees grow and moving forward in their careers, and then the Caltrans family, you know, most of all. everybody here is a big family. We know everybody and really enjoy that about this career here. It's treated me well.
Well, you guys are a true testament. You've been around for a long time here at Caltrans. So definitely the pros and the experts at what you do, and definitely an inspiration for everybody here learning from you guys today. You shared so much, insights and information for us, amazing footage to give us a peek into what you're doing, the importance of it, the safety behind it. We thank everybody for joining us today. And as soon as you close out of this, you will see a link to go into the post survey. So please take a minute to fill that out. We always do check those out, and we look at the feedback that you guys are giving us. And so just take a moment for that post survey. And again, register for CT Talks episode 15, and that'll be happening in November. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Thanks for our panelists so much for your time today. And thanks so much again, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody.
Have a great day, everybody.